This is TWiT.
Samsung is buying mobile payment company Loop Pay for an undisclosed amount. This is a direct shot across the bow at the ubiquitous Apple Pay. According to several sources, Loop Pay technology works with existing NFC readers, but will also work with traditional magnetic credit card readers, which means it won't require merchants to upgrade their current systems, unlike Apple Pay. A report from Recode last year said Samsung was planning on including Loop Pay technology in the Samsung Galaxy S6, which we think will be announced at Mobile World Congress in a few weeks. Loop Pay has been available as an add-on attachment since last year. Here's an update to a story from last October when Twitter sued the U.S. Justice Department. Twitter's complaint is that it's their First Amendment right to tell consumers specific details about how the U.S. government requests their data. The Justice Department, however, claims that this threatens national security. Twitter disagrees and says that the inability to reveal specific information in their transparency reports means that they're not all that transparent. At first, Twitter was the only company to stand up to the U.S. government this way, but GigaOM reports that this week tech companies like Wikipedia, BuzzFeed, The Guardian, and others filed friend-of-the-court briefs to support Twitter. In other Twitter news, Del Harvey, the Twitter executive in charge of trust and safety, says she is doubling down on policing abuse and working on building features into Twitter that will try to make people pause and think about what they're doing. The whole interview with Harvey is great, so check it out. The link is in our show notes. Sony released earnings yesterday, and with it, Chief Executive Kaizo Hirai announced a new strategy for the company that involved splintering off certain divisions. He didn't give specifics, but did say that they hadn't ruled out an exit strategy for their struggling smartphone division and were leaning toward a focus on PlayStation, movies, music, and their camera sensors, which are the camera sensors in most iPhones. And have you heard? Some people have iPhones. Critically acclaimed architect Eli Adia has been developing a software-powered construction process called engineered architecture since 1996. He brought this project to the Google X program in 2010, and now he's saying that they stole it. Russell Brandom, the reporter at The Verge, is here to give us a little background on the story. Welcome, Russell.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So what's a quick backstory?
Yeah, so this story goes back to the first sort of days of Google X when they were, looking for projects to change the world. He had a project that he thought was going to change the world, engineered architecture, and they got together. And I think, what happened next is sort of under dispute, but the project ended up spinning off without him into a standalone business called Flux Factory. And, they don't think that what they're doing has anything to do with engineered architecture, but he disagrees.
So they told him that the project was done, and then they decided to keep going. And
well, they told him that they were going to spin it off. I mean, this is the part that's really under sort of dispute, and it is one of these situations where everyone's got their own version of what happened. But it does seem like from the moment he got to Google, he thought, well, the purpose of this project is to take my idea, engineered architecture, and sort of make it into real software, which he couldn't do because he had no software background. And Google seems to have seen it kind of differently. They thought, well, there's this huge opportunity in architecture. This guy has these interesting ideas. Let's see if there's something here. And I think it's the usual startup story where they're going to try lots of things and see what works. And the agile startup is the term.